Big time game coming tonight. Georgetown will host St. John's in a Big East Conference game. St. John's right now sitting second in the conference. Georgetown sitting in the middle of the pack right now at 4-5. They're 4 games behind first. St. John's is currently tied for first right now at 8-1, 17-3 on the season. Now, if you've been following along, you know I've been really high on this St. John's team. They got some guys. They got some guys that I don't believe will be playing at St. John's next year. Coach Pitino has recruited some dogs to the program, okay? This is one of the best Big East teams, in my opinion. Creighton, Marquette, UConn has fallen off. We'll discuss that another time. But UConn has fallen off. So you got Marquette, you got St. John's, you got Creighton. I like St. John's to come out of that 3. They're the best team. If you ask me, this season, they have been the best team. The last 5 games, they have been the best team. Picked up an insane win in overtime versus Xavier. I took St. John's. I think we discussed that one on this show as well, predicted that game. I took St. John's in that game, and I remember Xavier was up that whole game pretty much. St. John's was struggling. They got going in the end and were able to pull off the game in overtime. Scored 79 in that game, scored 79 to dominate against Seton Hall, put up 63 against Georgetown the last time that they met and won the game by 5. That game was at home. This time we will see St. John's travel to Georgetown. But I don't see why Georgetown would be able to win this game. Georgetown has struggled this year. They really have. They've had a tough last few slate of games as well. They're not looking too well. They've also played some really tough teams. They played the tougher part of the Big East recently. Started with Marquette, took a 8-point L to them, took an 8-point L to UConn, took a 5-point L to St. John's, as we discussed. They took a 5-point L to DePaul. They beat Villanova by 1. That's a pretty decent win. And then they lost to Providence by 5. Oh, just kidding. They lost to Providence by 10. Sorry. They're giving up a decent amount of points. They're not scoring a lot of points. They're a lot of times finishing somewhere in the high 50s, low 60s, and that's been a very consistent thing all year. They started off scoring the ball decently, I guess. They played Lehigh, and I don't know. They're finishing in the high 50s, low 60s for most of their games. I don't see how that will allow them to beat St. John's, who I believe can make a run in the tournament this year. Not only come out of the Big East and make some noise, but really make a push in the tournament, just depending on their schedule. If they don't have to run into one of those top SEC gauntlets, they don't have to run into a SEC type of team that's played through this SEC gauntlet, or one of these high Big 12 teams. If they can play somebody that's on the lower side, or maybe a decent team that's ranked high, but if Kentucky finds their way in and they catch a team like Kentucky, and Carr's still out and Butler's still dealing with some things, St. John's can beat that team. They're not ranked high for no reason. This is not the 15th team in the country for no reason. This team has a buzz. This team has been rolling. This team is averaging about 80 points per game. This team looks good, man. I'm really excited to see what they do tonight at St. John's. Right now, they're sitting technically second in the Big East. I feel like you win this game, you put yourself in a very solid position, to see Marquette in a few weeks. February 4th. So, yeah, you win this game against Georgetown. Go beat Providence on Saturday. Tuesday roll around. We got a top 2 matchup. Handle business right now. You have an opportunity to take a little bit of an advantage against Marquette. You hope that they can get beat by UConn next game. Maybe Butler gets hot and knocks them off. So Marquette has 2 games that they can easily lose. Easily. The Big East is not a weak conference. It's not. They have 2 games that they can easily lose. They can lose to UConn. They can. Now, I'm not high on UConn. I don't know what's going on with that program. But that's a game that UConn can find a way to win. So as far as tonight goes, I think St. John's is going to take this game personal. They're going to look to make a statement on the road. They won this game by 5 at home. They don't feel like they played very well in that game. I know Coach Patino is going to have his guys coached up, ready to go. Right? The line started at -4.5. It's moved to -3.5. So that means Georgetown's been getting a little bit of love. Yeah. My mind doesn't change. Not one bit. I like St. John's to cover the spread. They got St. John's at -3.5. I'm taking that. Let me know what you think.